Hello, survivors. Thanks for joining us today. Before we begin, if you enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot. Also, tell us in the comments which city you're listening from. It's great to see how far our community reaches. Now, let's start the story. Code Black. That's what they called it over the hospital PA system. But we all knew what it really meant. It meant run. It meant hide. It meant the flimsy barrier between order and utter chaos inside Mercy General had finally shattered. I'm David, just a nurse, 6 years on the job, mostly in the ER. I thought I'd seen everything this city could throw at us. Gunshot wounds, horrific car accidents, ODs, psychotics off their meds. But nothing prepared me for the first day of the end of the world, trapped inside a hospital that was eating itself alive. It started subtly, like most disasters do. An uptick in violent psych cases arriving via ambulance. Patients, presenting with extreme aggression, high fevers, dilated pupils. We chalked it up to a new designer drug hitting the streets, maybe tainted PCP. Standard operating procedure: sedate, restrain, observe. Dr. Evans, our unflappable ER attending, even joked about needing stronger tranquilizers. None of us realized these weren't ODs. These were the first ripples of the tidal wave that was about to drown us. The first concrete sign things were wrong, not just bad day in the ER wrong, came around noon. A patient we'd heavily sedated just hours earlier, a middle-aged guy, brought in after attacking paramedics, suddenly ripped through 4-point leather restraints like they were paper. Before security could respond, he lunged at Sarah, one of the veteran nurses, sinking his teeth into her shoulder. Security tasered him. No effect. They tackled him, but his strength was unnatural. He bit one of the guards, Harris, on the hand before they finally managed to subdue him again, this time with enough Thorazine to drop a rhino. Sarah was shaken but seemed okay, the bite cleaned and bandaged. Harris laughed it off, flexing his bandaged hand. "Damn junkies are getting strong," he'd said. Less than an hour later, Harris collapsed, convulsing violently. His skin turned gray, veins darkening. Then, he got back up, not as Harris, but as one of them. He attacked the nearest orderly before being shot dead by another security guard. A headshot, the only thing that seemed to work. Panic ignited. Doors were slammed shut, security codes changed. Dr. Evans tried to maintain calm, directing staff, trying to treat the rapidly growing number of bite victims, including Sarah, whose fever was now spiking dangerously. Outside, the city sirens formed a constant wailing chorus. News reports on the waiting room TV showed gridlocked highways, military vehicles deploying, grainy cell phone footage of attacks identical to what we were witnessing inside. The term started filtering through the panicked whispers. Zombies. It sounded insane. We were medical professionals trained in science and reason, but the evidence was undeniable. People were dying, then reanimating, driven by a single terrifying instinct: to bite, to spread whatever this was. Then came the Code Black announcement, cutting through the chaos. Code Black main entrance. Code Black West Wing elevators. Code Black. It meant total loss of security in those areas. The infected, both patients who'd turned and outsiders who'd somehow breached the perimeter, were inside the main hospital building, spreading. I was on the 3rd floor, surgical ward, helping secure our unit with Dr. Anya Sharma and a few other nurses and orderlies. We barricaded the main doors with beds and heavy equipment carts. Patients, the ones still human anyway, whimpered in their rooms. Distant screams and gunfire echoed up the stairwells. "We need to check the supply closets," Anya said, her voice tight but controlled. We'd worked together for years. She was brilliant, steady under pressure. "Bandages, antibiotics, IV fluids, anything we can grab before this floor gets hit." We moved quickly through the eerily quiet surgical ward. Most elective surgeries had been canceled earlier due to the escalating situation downtown. So many. Rooms were empty. We gathered supplies, stuffing them into pillowcases. In one room, we found a post-op patient, Mrs. Gable, still unconscious from anesthesia. We couldn't move her easily. "We barricade her in," Anya decided grimly. "Best we can do right now." As we finished blocking Mrs. Gable's door, we heard it, heavy pounding on the main ward doors we'd barricaded. Not the frantic scrabbling of the infected, but deliberate heavy impacts. Someone was trying to get in. "Security?" Anya whispered hopefully. "Or worse," I replied, hefting a heavy metal IV pole, the closest thing to a weapon. The pounding intensified. The metal doors began to buckle inward. Through the reinforced window beside the door, I saw them, not infected, but people. Living people. Desperate civilians who must have gotten past the overrun ER, seeking refuge. But behind them, pressing closer, were the dead. The civilians were trapped between the barricade and the horde. "We can't open it," Anya hissed. "We'll be overrun." A young woman outside pressed her face to the window, her eyes pleading. Behind her, an infected lunged, sinking teeth into the shoulder of the man next to her. His scream was cut short as the horde swarmed him. My hand hovered over the door release button. Open it, save the woman, doom the ward. Keep it closed, maintain security, condemn her. Training dictated security. Humanity screamed otherwise. The decision was made for me. The doors buckled further under the combined weight of the living, pushing from one side and the dead from the other. Metal shrieked, hinges groaned. They were coming through. "Back!" I yelled, pulling Anya away. "Supply closet C, it locks from the inside." We scrambled down the hall as the main ward doors burst open. Civilians and infected flooded in together, a horrifying mix of terror and mindless aggression. Screams, snarls, the wet sounds of tearing flesh filled the corridor. We reached the supply closet, slammed the heavy metal door shut, and threw the deadbolt just as bodies began slamming against it from the outside. We were trapped. Trapped in a cramped, windowless closet filled with linens and bedpans, the sounds of slaughter raging just feet away. Anya slumped against the shelves, breathing heavily. I checked my pockets, trauma shears, a pen light, my phone. No signal, of course. Pathetic weapons against what was happening outside. The pounding on the closet door began. Heavy, rhythmic thuds mixed with frantic scratching and snarling. The metal door dented inward slightly with each impact. How long would it hold? Minutes? An hour? Suddenly, the overhead lights flickered, then died. Emergency power failed. We're plunged into absolute darkness. The only sounds the chaos outside the door, and our own terrified breathing. The air grew thick with the smell of blood and decay seeping under the door. This was it. The hospital was collapsing around us, the infection spreading like wildfire, and we were trapped in the heart of it, waiting for the inevitable breach. This first day wasn't just the end of the world. It felt like the end of everything. The darkness in the supply closet was absolute, suffocating. Every sound from the corridor outside, the snarls, the screams that abruptly cut off, the wet, tearing noises, was amplified, feeding our terror. Anya was trying to control her breathing beside me, her occasional shudder the only proof she was still there. The pounding on our metal door continued relentlessly. How many were out there? How long until the steel gave way? Minutes stretched into an agonizing eternity. My eyes strained against the blackness, trying to make sense of shapes that weren't there. My ears strained, trying to interpret the horrifying symphony outside. Was that gunfire further down the hall? Were other staff members still fighting? Or was it just the infected making noise as they destroyed everything in their path? "We can't stay here," Anya whispered finally, her voice shaky but firm. "The door won't hold forever. There has to be another way out." "Where?" I countered, keeping my own voice low. "We're on the 3rd floor. Windows are barred. Stairwells are probably choked with them by now." "Ventilation shafts?" she suggested. "Maintenance access?" It was a long shot. Hospital ventilation systems are a maze, often too small for a person to crawl through, and we had no idea where they led. But it was better than waiting to be torn apart when the door failed. Okay, I agreed. My pen light's weak, but it's something. Feel along the ceiling. Look for an access panel. We fumbled in the dark, hands sweeping across the smooth ceiling. Tiles. The pounding on the door intensified, a section visibly denting inward. A low growl seeped through the warped metal. They were close. Here, Anya hissed. Her fingers had found the edge of a panel. Need a boost. I braced myself against the shelves, letting her stand on my shoulders. She pushed at the panel. It resisted, then popped upward with a soft click, showering us with dust and debris. Cold, foul air rushed down. "Can you see anything?" I whispered. "Just darkness." "It's tight." She hesitated. "But there's airflow. It must go somewhere." "Go," I urged. "I'll follow." The door groaned again, buckling further. No time left. Anya pulled herself up into the narrow space above the ceiling tiles. I heard her grunt with effort as she wriggled forward. I shoved myself up after her, the rough metal edge scraping against my scrubs, my injured shoulders screaming in protest from where Sarah had bitten me hours ago. Clean wound, no fever. Yet, but the fear lingered. The space was incredibly cramped, maybe 2 feet high, filled with pipes, wires, and insulation. Progress was agonizingly slow, crawling on our bellies, using only my weak pen light to navigate. The sounds from the corridor below faded slightly, replaced by the scuttling of unseen things in the ducts around us and the pounding of my own heart. We crawled blindly for what felt like hours, following the main ductwork, hoping it led away from the chaos. The air grew progressively colder, dustier. Twice we had to backtrack when the shaft narrowed impossibly, or ended in a solid fan blade. My pen light flickered, threatening to die. "David," Anya whispered, her voice tight with fear from somewhere ahead in the darkness. "Something's moving up here." I froze, straining my ears. A faint scratching sound coming from further down the shaft. Not rats. Too rhythmic. Too deliberate. Something was in the vents with us. "Keep moving," I urged, pushing down my own panic. "Maybe it's just maintenance settling." But I didn't believe it. The scratching grew louder, closer. Then silence. We lay motionless in the cramped, dusty darkness, barely breathing. After a long moment, Anya started crawling again, slower this time. I followed, sweeping the weak beam of my light ahead, catching glimpses of bundled wires, insulated pipes, and thick layers of dust. Then the light caught something else. Eyes. 2 small red points glowing faintly in the darkness just ahead of Anya. They blinked slowly, reflecting my light. Before Anya could react, something small and fast darted out of a side duct, landing silently on the main shaft floor between us. It was hunched over, its form difficult to make out in the dim light, but it was roughly child-sized, moving with a jerky insect-like crawl. As it turned its head toward Anya, my light caught its face. Pale, gaunt, with oversized milky white eyes and a lipless mouth filled with needle-sharp teeth. It let out a high-pitched chittering sound and lunged. Anya screamed, scrambling backward. I reacted on instinct, shoving forward, kicking out with my foot. My boot connected with something small and hard. The creature shrieked, skittering back into the side duct, disappearing into the darkness. "What was that?" Anya gasped, trembling uncontrollably. "I don't know," I breathed, my own heart hammering. But it wasn't one of the ones from downstairs. It was different, smaller, faster, like something adapted to these confined spaces. Had the infection mutated already? Or was this something else entirely? We didn't wait to find out. We crawled faster, desperation overriding caution, following the main shaft as it began to slope downward. Cool, fresher air started to filter in. Below us we could hear muffled sounds, the low hum of machinery, dripping water. Sub-basement levels? Anya guessed. Storage? Morgue? The shaft ended at a large ventilation grate set into a concrete wall. Peering through, we could see a large, dimly lit room below. Rows of stainless steel tables, large refrigeration units lining one wall. The morgue. and it wasn't empty. Several figures in hospital orderly uniforms moved slowly among the tables, their backs to us. Their movements were sluggish, shuffling, not the aggressive infected from upstairs. These were slower, more like the classic movie zombies. But even as that thought offered a sliver of hope, another figure emerged from the shadows near the refrigeration units, tall, gaunt, wearing the tattered remnants of a doctor's coat. It moved with purpose, directing the shuffling orderlies with gestures and low guttural sounds. It seemed intelligent, organizing them. "They're different down here," Anya whispered. "Slower, but that one." She pointed at the figure in the doctor's coat. "It seems to be in charge." "We need to find another way," I said. "Can't risk going through there." We scanned the shaft. Another side duct branched off nearby. Smaller, but maybe passable. It seemed to head away from the morgue, deeper into the sub-basement. It was our only option. Crawling through the narrower duct was even more difficult. Dust choked us. Sharp metal edges tore at our scrubs. My broken arm sent waves of agony through me with every movement. After maybe 20 minutes of claustrophobic crawling, the duct opened onto another grate, this one overlooking a dark, cluttered storage area filled with old equipment and forgotten files. More importantly, it seemed empty. We managed to pry the grate open and dropped quietly to the dusty floor below. The silence here was absolute. No groans, no shuffling, just the drip of water somewhere in the distance. We found a heavy steel door at the far end of the storage room. It was marked "Incinerator Access Authorized Personnel Only." "The incinerator?" Anya asked, confused. "Why would we?" "Waste disposal," I interrupted, hope flickering again. "Hospitals generate tons of biohazardous waste. It has to go somewhere secure, usually off-site via dedicated chutes or tunnels connected to an incinerator building." I pointed to a faded schematic on the wall near the door. "Look, this tunnel connects to the auxiliary incinerator unit. It's a separate building across the service yard. If that building's clear, it's an exit." The door was locked with a heavy-duty padlock, no electronic panel this time. "My shears won't cut that," Anya said. I looked around the storage room. Old gurneys, discarded monitors, boxes of files, and in the corner, leaning against the wall, an oxygen tank on a rolling stand. Heavy steel. "Give me a hand," I said. To Anya. We wrestled the heavy tank over to the door. I positioned the valve end near the padlock shackle. "Stand back," I warned. Using a heavy metal pipe I found nearby, I swung hard against the tank's valve stem. The first blow just dented. The second caused a sharp hiss. The third sheared the valve off completely. Compressed oxygen erupted with a deafening roar, slamming the heavy tank against the padlock like a battering ram. Metal shrieked. The padlock shattered. The steel door blew inward. The noise was catastrophic. Every infected within hearing distance, both upstairs and in the morgue we'd bypassed, would be converging on this location. We had seconds. We scrambled through the doorway into another dark tunnel, this one smelling strongly of ash and chemicals. I pulled the heavy door shut behind us, but there was no way to lock it from this side. We ran. The tunnel sloped downward, lit by bare emergency bulbs. Behind us, we could hear the first snarls echoing from the storage room as the infected arrived, drawn by the oxygen tank explosion. The tunnel twisted, turned, then opened into a vast, cavernous space, the incinerator complex. Two massive furnaces dominated the room, currently cold and silent. Catwalks crisscrossed the space above, and large chutes descended from upper levels, presumably carrying waste. On the far side, a set of large roll-up doors offered a potential exit to the outside service yard. But we weren't alone. Standing near the control panel for the main furnace was the figure Anya had spotted in the morgue, the tall, intelligent-looking infected in the tattered doctor's coat. It turned as we entered, its clouded eyes fixing on us. It didn't snarl or charge. It simply watched us, a chillingly calm intelligence in its dead gaze. And behind it, emerging from the shadows near the furnaces, were more of the slower shuffling. Infected. The orderlies from the morgue, maybe a dozen of them, forming a silent, shambling line. This wasn't just mindless hunger. This felt calculated. Trapped again, between the infected pursuing us down the tunnel, and this new, seemingly intelligent leader and its shambling guards, with the only exit blocked. The first day of the outbreak was testing not just our endurance, but our understanding of what these things truly were. And this one felt like the architect of the hospital's collapse. The infected doctor, for lack of a better term, tilted its head, studying us. Its movements were fluid, lacking the jerky quality of the others, though its skin still had that awful, gray pallor. It made a low clicking sound in its throat, and the shambling orderlies behind it stopped their advance, forming a silent, decaying cordon between us and the roll-up doors. "So," the doctor thing spoke, its voice a dry rasp, like sandpaper on bone, yet unnervingly coherent. "The survivors, resourceful, but ultimately futile." Anya gasped. "It can talk. Consciousness is persistent," the creature replied, taking a step closer. Its clouded eyes seemed to pierce right through us. "The virus rewrites, yes. Reduces, most to basic drives, but some hosts retain fragments, enough to observe, to learn, to direct." It gestured vaguely at the shambling figures behind it. "Simple tools, but effective in numbers." "What do you want?" I demanded, raising the tire iron, though it felt laughably inadequate. Chen stood beside me, pistol aimed, but his hands were shaking. "Want?" The creature chuckled, a sound like rocks grinding together. "An illogical question. We spread. It is purpose. Your arrival merely presents opportunity." It focused on Lena. "The research, Dr. Sharma. You understand the potential, don't you? The key to controlling the baseline functions, refining the process." "You're insane," Lena spat, clutching her medkit tighter. "This isn't control, it's annihilation." "Semantics," the doctor thing dismissed. "Order emerges from chaos. A new ecosystem. We are simply the apex predator." Behind us, the snarls from the access tunnel grew louder. The infected pursuing us were getting closer. Rhodes's crew might be among them too. "Your time is limited," the doctor thing continued, noticing our predicament. "Join us, Doctor. Your knowledge can accelerate the transition, ensure a more stable integration." It gestured toward me and Chen. "Your colleagues, they can provide the initial sustenance." The shambling orderlies took a step forward, moaning low in their throats. The ones in the tunnel were almost upon us. We were completely boxed in. "Screw you," Chen snarled, firing his pistol. The shot hit one of the orderlies' center mass, staggering it but not stopping it. "Inefficient," the doctor thing observed calmly. "The brainstem, officer, as you should know by now." It made another clicking sound, and the orderlies surged, forwarding slow but relentless. We backed away toward the massive cold furnaces. Chen fired again, dropping one orderly with a headshot, but another took its place. I swung the tire iron, cracking skulls, the impact jarring up my good arm, sending waves of nausea through me from the pain in my broken one. Lena threw a heavy oxygen canister wrench, hitting another infected squarely in the face, making it stumble. But they kept coming, and from the tunnel behind us, the first of the faster, more aggressive infected appeared, drawn by the fight. We were caught in a pincer movement of the dead. "The furnace!" Anya yelled suddenly, pointing at the main incinerator control panel near where the doctor thing stood, observing the fight with detached curiosity. "If we can start the burn cycle." "It takes minutes to reach temperature," I shouted back, kicking an infected away. "We don't have minutes." "No, but the gas feed," she insisted. "The pilot lights. If we can flood the chamber with gas." It was another desperate gamble. Chen and I focused on holding back the tide of infected pouring from the tunnel, while Anya, surprisingly agile, dodged past the shambling orderlies and sprinted for the control panel. The doctor thing watched her approach, its expression unreadable. making no move to intercept her. Almost like it was curious. Anya reached the panel, hands flying over the controls, hitting emergency overrides. Warning sirens blared, adding to the cacophony. Gas flow active, ignition sequence standby. The hiss of natural gas filled the massive chamber almost instantly. "Get back," Anya screamed, running toward us. The doctor thing finally reacted. It moved with blurring speed, cutting off Anya's retreat, grabbing her arm with unnatural strength. "Fascinating," it rasped, pulling her close. "A destructive impulse. So, very human." "Let her go," I charged, swinging the tire iron. The doctor thing easily sidestepped, shoving Anya hard toward the shambling orderlies, who immediately swarmed her. It turned to face me, its movements impossibly fast. It swatted the tire iron from my grasp like a child's toy. "Your struggle is noted," it said, grabbing me by the throat, lifting me effortlessly off the ground. Cold radiated from its touch, seeping into my bones. Its clouded eyes stared into mine, and for a horrifying moment, I felt an alien intelligence probing my thoughts, sifting through memories, but ultimately, irrelevant. Its grip tightened, crushing the air from my lungs. Black spots danced before my eyes. Chen fired his last round, hitting the creature in the shoulder with no effect. As my vision dimmed, I saw Chen overwhelmed by the infected pouring from the tunnel. It was over. Then a flicker of movement near the furnace controls. Anya. She wasn't down. She'd managed to roll free from the orderlies, ignoring the bite wounds already darkening on her arms. With her last ounce of strength, she reached the panel and slammed her hand down on the emergency ignition button. Sparks ignited the gas-filled chamber. A deafening roar engulfed the room as a fireball erupted from the main furnace, engulfing the doctor thing, me, Chen, and dozens of infected in searing heat. The force of the blast threw me backward, away from the creature's grasp, slamming me against the tunnel entrance wall. My last conscious thought before the world went white was of Anya, standing silhouetted against the inferno, a figure of defiance swallowed by the flames. Consciousness returned slowly, painfully. The world swam in a haze of smoke and agony. My ears rang. My skin felt scorched. My broken arm was a universe of pain. I blinked, trying to clear my vision. The incinerator room was a wreck, twisted metal, scorched concrete, the air thick with the smell of burnt everything. The main furnace roared, consuming whatever fuel remained. Of the doctor thing and the shambling orderlies, there was nothing left but ash and blackened fragments. The intense heat had sterilized the immediate area, consuming the infected caught in the blast, the pursuing infected from the tunnel, likely incinerated or trapped behind collapsed sections further back. Anya, I scanned the wreckage near the control panel. Nothing, just scorched metal. She had saved us, sacrificed herself to trigger the ignition. Chen lay nearby, unconscious, but breathing, miraculously shielded from the worst of the blast by an overturned cart. We were alive, battered, burned, broken, but alive. The incinerator tunnel leading back to the hospital storage was likely blocked by the blast. The only way out was the large roll-up service door on the far side of the chamber. It took everything I had to haul Chen over to the door mechanism. The manual crank was damaged but functional. Slowly, painfully, using my one good arm, I raised the heavy door inch by agonizing inch. Gray, smoke-filled daylight filtered in. We were looking out onto the hospital's rear service yard. And it wasn't empty. Dozens of infected milled around overturned dumpsters and parked service vans, drawn by the earlier commotion and the ongoing fire within the incinerator building. But beyond them, beyond the chain-link fence surrounding the service yard, was the city, or what was left of it. Smoke rose from countless fires, sirens still wailed faintly, but an unnatural quiet hung over the landscape. Chen stirred, groaning. "David? What?" "We made it," I rasped, my throat raw. "We made it out of the hospital." He struggled to sit up, taking in the scene. But, out to what? He was right. We'd escaped the collapsing hospital, the immediate nightmare, but the world outside was just a larger version of the same hell. We had no supplies beyond Lena's partially salvaged medkit, minimal ammunition between us, Chen's pistol was empty, and serious injuries. Chen had burns and likely internal injuries. My arm was useless. But we were alive. 12 hours ago, I was just a nurse starting my shift. Now I was a survivor, trapped outside the ruins of Mercy General the first day of the zombie outbreak, drawing to a close under a smoke-choked sky, with the daunting prospect of navigating a dead city ahead. Survival wasn't guaranteed, but Anya, Chief Ben, Pete, Sarah, Harris, and countless others hadn't gotten this far. We owed it to them to try. We'd face whatever came next, one step, one breath at a time.